TalkSport are reporting that David Sullivan is now having second thoughts over giving David Moyes a new contract. Meanwhile, earlier on this afternoon, Jacob Steinberg stated, despite positivity last month, there's now no guarantee that West Ham will end up giving David Moyes a new deal. Some still expect him to stay, but recent form has changed the mood. Further talks planned later in the season, West Ham hoping to see improvement in results. Mood could change if Paqueta's return improves the attack, some winnable games coming up. Progress in Europe would also help Moyes. Always going to be ups and downs with a mid-table team, so there's no panic. But West Ham have been looking at potential replacements. Now, I think this is a really, really good update. Not in the sense that we know what's going on, that's always welcomed. But in regards to the tone of the message from Jacob Steinberg, in regards to what it's saying, I think this is really good. And I'll explain why in approximately 15 seconds. But before I do that, if you're new to the channel and you end up enjoying this video, please do subscribe. It takes 2 seconds. Just click that subscribe button. Also drop a like on the video as well by clicking thumbs up. Helps out this video, helps out the channel. It makes me a little bit happy. As has this update from Jacob Steinberg. I'm going to dismiss the one from TalkSport. I'll just inform you what TalkSport are saying. I tend not to really believe what TalkSport say, because I think while one's saying one thing, there'll be someone else saying that he's still going to get a new contract. So I dismiss that one. But the one that Steinberg has put out there, I think it's really good news. And the reason I think it's really good news is because of what I consider to be the reality. What were the chances of David Sullivan sacking David Moyes? I would consider it to be 0%. I never expected at all. I know some people did, but I think that was perhaps more hope than expectation. Emotions were heightened yesterday, understandably. And I think some people thought, well, this is surely the game that we'll see Sullivan sack David Moyes. But I've never believed it in a second. I think it would take a lot worse than this. You go back 12 months ago, we were in a relegation battle. Sullivan still stuck by David Moyes. Now, I know there's some things have changed. For example, Noble's 12 months into his role than he was last season. We've got Steiden in now. It's cheaper to sack David Moyes. So there's a lot of reasons. We're not in a relegation battle. That's something else that he had to take into consideration. He doesn't now. Arguably, it would be safe, risk-free to sack David Moyes. What's the worst that can happen? We finish in the bottom half of the table and we go out of Europe in the next round. That's probably the worst thing that could happen right now. But when you take everything into consideration, I just felt there was no chance Sullivan was going to sack David Moyes. However, the message I'm getting now, the vibe I'm getting now, is Sullivan starting to reverse away from David Moyes' comments a little bit. Because I felt Moyes had played a bit of a blinder at the end of December when we were just beating Arsenal. We were 6th in the league, we were in really good form, and Moyes stated, oh yeah, new contract is going to happen, talks are planned, we're going to be having talks, I'll be signing a new contract at West Ham. And he sort of controlled the narrative, did David Moyes. I thought he put Sullivan under pressure a little bit. And there was no response from Sullivan. I was expecting something to come out via his sources that Moyes is talking nonsense, but there was nothing. Which led me to believe what David Moyes says. So I thought, alright, talks are obviously planned. There is going to be talks. But I thought Moyes got one up really by telling the world that he was going to be signing a new contract. And it sort of put Sullivan under pressure a little bit. And he stated again just a couple of weeks ago, boys. But this time there has been a little bit of a response from West Ham unofficially. And we've got it again. Because Sullivan will be fielding a lot of emails and phone calls from people today. Some of them are his friends, some of them journalists like Jacob Steinberg, both in some occasions. But the West Ham fans that are in journalism have always been interested in the David Moyes contract situation. So the likes of Jacob Steinberg, Roshane from The Athletic, they've all been trying to get updates. But now it's the mainstream media. Now TalkSport are interested, Sky Sports are interested. The biggest journalists in football will start to be contacting David Sullivan saying, what's going on here then? What is it? Because they're all going to want the scoop. They're all going to want the headline. They all want the latest news. So Sullivan's under pressure in the last 24 hours probably. There will be people telling him the fans are not happy. So he's under pressure, and his response, by the sounds of it, is talks are still planned, but not yet. And there's no guarantees getting a new contract. Well, that's different to what David Moyes is saying, and it's probably different to what we've heard in the last month, which is nothing. And that's why I deem it good news, because I feel like the club are just backing off a little bit to the claims David Moyes has said. Now, the one thing that's in there that we all know this anyway, but I think what it does do is prove that it's perhaps predominantly results based. So that big question, why would Sullivan give David Moyes a new contract? Go back a couple of weeks ago, when we were not in this bad form, before we got knocked out the FA Cup by Bristol City. If we rewind till then, we're 6th in the league, And the question was, well, why would Sullivan give David Moyes a new contract now? I think it's just been proven by what Steinberg said, and we all knew this anyway. It's not necessarily news, it's just perhaps proof, which was that recent form has changed the mood, and then West Ham are hoping to see improvement in results. It suggests it's predominantly results based, which football is, but I think it just proves that the board are looking at the points tally in the league table rather than what they're seeing on the football pitch there. But that's why I think this is good. They're backing off a little bit. The fact that they're considering alternatives, I think they should be doing this anyway. Even if they intend on giving David Moyes a new contract, I think the club should be looking at alternatives. You never know what you'll discover. They might discover that actually a manager they thought was beyond them that they couldn't get. Having these possibilities, looking at alternatives, they might discover actually that manager will come. That should change the landscape. Because if you were going, if sometimes I think players and managers always get treated differently. You know, it's easy to upgrade a player. You have a right back and you're in a relegation battle, then you move into positions challenging for European football. You don't hesitate to upgrade the right back if you have to. Yeah, we'll sell him, we'll get a new one in. But with managers, it's deemed a little bit differently. And I understand why, because he's the one that's essentially guided that club up the league table. But most managers in football have a ceiling. So if you accept the right back's got a ceiling, why do you not accept the manager's got a ceiling as well? Why do you not upgrade the manager at that point as well? Say, well, actually, you've got us as far as you can, just like the right back has, so we're going to upgrade this player too. But anyway, so you were looking at players. You targeted a left midfielder, for example, and while you were doing your scouting, you're speaking to agents, you discover this left winger is actually like you thought was too good or wouldn't be interested in coming to West Ham, actually is interested. You change, you switch your target immediately. And I think you should be doing that with the managers as well. We should be looking at alternatives. Even if the club intend on giving Moyes a new contract, we should be. Because the last thing that can happen is we get into a situation where the club decide, actually we don't want to give Moyes a new contract, and we've only got a handful of weeks till the end of the season and we've got no plan as to what to do or who to go get or who's in charge. This is something the club need to decide. Well, I mean, they should have decided it already, but if they haven't, they need to decide now, which is what is the strategy? Who are we looking at to bring in? Because I don't trust David Sullivan at all. I do not trust him whatsoever. January scared me a little bit in the sense that the Ibrahim Osman thing, like I said, forget about Osman as a player. I'm looking at, and I could be wrong, but I would suggest the fact that Brighton have signed him now would suggest this is correct, which is Steinberg wanted him and Sullivan overruled him, so nah, that's too expensive for an unknown player. So Sullivan overruled Steinberg in regards to transfers. The one thing that Steinberg we know is really good at, Pearl Diver, that's his name in terms of unearthing really good talent and bringing them in to Leverkusen. Now, it's not just him, there's other people at Leverkusen as well. So we brought him in to head up our player recruitment, and our chairman's overruled him with player recruitment. So I struggle to have any confidence whatsoever Steinberg's going to be the guy in charge of the new manager. I think that will lie with David Sullivan, and it scares me. It really does. Have I got confidence in Sullivan replacing Moyes adequately? No, I do not. Now, speaking of replacements, Sean Weston's done an update which is to rule out two potential replacements in Jose Mourinho and Graham Potter. Now, I can't say I'm too bothered. If Moyes was to go, if you were to do a list of 5 managers you'd want, 10 managers you'd want, neither Potter or Mourinho would be on my list. Now, I'm not saying there wouldn't be an upgrade, but I want us to get this right, and I want this to be big. I want us to replace David Moyes with a big manager, a statement, and it doesn't have to be the most prolific one, it doesn't have to be the best CV, because Jose Mourinho has that, he has a CV. But I want to get this right, and it has to be worthwhile. It has to be someone that's going to come in, improve the football, have us challenging for European football. The one thing I didn't like about that statement from Steinberg was for a mid-table side, and I just, hang on a minute, we need to change that. We're not a mid-table side. We're a side challenging for European football. That's what we have to be. We have to be aiming for that. Because even if you look at the lesser side of all the financial tables, so net spend, money spent, wages spent, we're 7th, 8th, 9th in these tables. We go between them. We're never in the top 6, but we're never in the bottom half. 7th, 8th, 9th, we're in there. Well, that's challenging for European football. Occasionally 7th is European football, as we've seen a couple of seasons ago. It got us into Conference League. There's a good chance this year 7th will be European football next season. That's what we've got to be going for. We've got to get a manager that's going to get us into those European spots. It can't be someone that's a slight upgrade. Because I think Graham Potter, I've never been one to have him in. I think the infrastructure at Brighton's completely different. We've had a very half-hearted initial attempt at getting Steidon in, but as Sullivan's proven, he's not willing to go the full hog on him. Potter, it's not for me. He would require a lot of time at West Ham. He's not going to get it. It's a no. Like I said, Mourinho, fantastic CV, but his football's hardly exciting. It's defensive. It's good defensive football when it works, but it's not. It's not entertaining football. It's not exciting football. I wouldn't want Potter or Mourinho. So when I seen Sean's tweet, I was quite relieved, quite frankly, that those two managers are two managers we would not consider. Both are obviously out of work as well, and I'm hoping that would indicate we're not afraid to pay compensation. Something David Sullivan has never done, ever. I think he did it once with Francis, was it, when he was at Birmingham? I think he's done it once. He paid compensation for a manager, but certainly at West Ham we've only employed out of work managers. That attitude needs to change, but the attitude that has changed, which is, whoa, hang on a minute, this new contract, no. The bit about talks being planned later in the future, I'm not really bothered about that, to be honest with you, because if talks have begun, which I believe they have, and I do believe the rumours that more talks are planned, but if the club are just kicking the can down the road and moving the talks further back, having talks and offering him a contract are two completely different things. So that bit about talks being planned in the future, it doesn't concern me. They're expecting improvement or hoping to see an improvement. Well, we bloody well hope so. We've got, as a manager, the next 4 fixtures are good. On paper, they are winnable fixtures. It doesn't mean we'll win them. But you've got Nottingham Forest, Brentford, Everton, Fulham, Burnley. That's 4 good games as a manager. 4 good games. You'll do well to get a better run of fixture to try and turn this round. Now the problem is, we're the team everybody wants to play right now. If you ask any fan of any club, who do you wish you were playing next weekend, I'd imagine most would say West Ham. I'd be surprised if they didn't say West Ham. And the only reason they wouldn't pick West Ham is if they've seen us lose to Arsenal and go, oh, not them, wounded animal mentality, don't fancy that. But as West Ham fans, we know we don't have a wounded animal. We've got one that's dying and still dying and just need to put out its misery. Because when David Moyes yesterday sat there saying, this doesn't happen to my teams. Well, in the last 7 weeks, we have been pumped on a few occasions. We literally lost 3-0 the weekend before, mate. We got beat 5-1 by Fulham. We've been shipping goals. Plenty goals under you. But the next set of fixtures, as a manager, you'll do well to get a better run. And if he can't turn it around with these 4, then I think that will make up the club's mind maybe. This is the first time, I have to be honest, when Moyes first said, this is late December, he's going to get a new contract, I believed him. I thought the club will do it. The club will do it. We're sitting 6th, the club will go, yeah, that's fine with us. Sullivan won't want the risk. But the last 24 hours, and it's confirmation bias, and for the last 24 hours, it was the first time I thought, actually, I'm not sure Moyes will get a new deal here. And then that update from Steinberg came out, I thought, actually, I'm really not sure Moyes will get a new deal here. I'm on the fence with it a little bit. The prediction, will Moyes get a new contract? Don't know. I'm not sure. But to be fair, going by what Steinberg is saying and what TalkSport are saying, they're also suggesting Sullivan isn't sure. We're in the halfway house at the minute. I don't like it. I don't like the fact that we're sort of just waiting. We're in limbo a little bit. But that's only okay if we are planning who to replace Moyes with, so that if they decide not to give Moyes a new contract, they know exactly who they want to go get. I always think that every cloud has a silver lining and all that, and sometimes you've got to look harder for it. But the silver lining from this set of results is it'll force West Ham into action, which is planning to replace David Moyes. That has to be the result of it. Because sacking Moyes, they're never going to do it. We're sitting 8th in the league. We're still in European football. They're never going to sack David Moyes. Not a chance. I think if we go out of European football, then you might see a reaction from the club. If we were to get minimal points out of that 4 league games, you might see a reaction. But until that happens, I can't see it. I cannot see it. I still think he's here till the end of the season. But the action from the consequences of this run, that defeat, if it is that West Ham are now exploring alternatives and working out who would be on their shortlist, I'll take that. I think it's good news. I think that update is good news. This is the first time David Sullivan is backing away from David Moyes' comments, which he made some time ago now. End of December, so what's that, 6-7 weeks ago David Moyes made those comments. Now Sullivan's starting to say, whoa, I'm not comfortable with this. I think that's good news. Anyway, I'm going to shut up and disappear. If you've enjoyed this video, please do drop a like on it by clicking thumbs up. If you're new to Hammer Chat, please do subscribe, and I may catch up with you tomorrow. I'll see you in a bit.